Hi everybody, this is Michelle with Creative Operation and Country Craft Creations. I have a tutorial that I want to start sharing with you today. I think what we'll do is part one, which will be the construction of the book, and then part two will come after I get everything all done. So I just wanted to share with you, I found a new it's new to me technique. I think it's been out there for a while, but it's new to me. I found it, I wanted to try it, and I think we're going to tweak it a little bit because I'm going to incorporate the pages into the binding. But what we're going to do is use straws. These are just regular, paper straws that you can get, and I'm going to use those to create the binding for this book, and I think it just looks absolutely beautiful. On this one I used two different kinds of straws. On the one we're going to make today, I'm going to use the same color of straws, but it's a really fun binding to kind of figure out. And then the papers that we're going to use for this particular project is Fall Breeze by Country Craft Creations. This is exclusive to Country Craft Creations. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're going to work on, like I said, the construction of the book today, and then I will get part two of the tutorial, which will be showing you basically how I used Fall Breeze to cover the pages. Now I am going to be using Olive Cardstock, and this is Artisan Cardstock from Country Craft Creations for this project. I think that's going to look super beautiful with this, but other colors will work as well. So if you can't get olive or don't have it in your stash, you could use from Country Craft Creations. I'm kind of going through my brain with the Artisan Cardstock. You could use natural, I think Summer Ivory would look really pretty with this. Kraft brown would be gorgeous. So you have some choices there. Even black would look beautiful. I think black would go with everything. So if you have any of those colors, that would work with this particular collection as well. I think that would be absolutely gorgeous. So like I said, brown, Kraft, ivory, or not ivory, Summer Ivory, and then natural would be amazing with this. So go ahead and check those colors out. I'll put links down below. Let's get started with, I'll kind of show you a little bit of what we're going to do. This book actually is my my prototype book. I'm going to do the pages a little bit differently because I kept it really simple, but we're going to make the binding, and the binding will incorporate the pages, and the straws go through, and it just creates a really pretty, just kind of spine. I think it's really pretty. I did use some papers from my stash for this one, but when you open it up, that's kind of what it's going to look like. Now, like I said, the pages are going to be different in the book that I do, but you're going to see the binding throughout. Now, it won't lay flat. That is one thing. It will not lay flat. As you look through the bottom of it, it will curve, but it does have a nice curve. When you get to the middle of it, it will, kind of be flat, but as you go, it will not. I mean, it'll open flat, but it will have a gap, that's what I guess I'm trying to say, with the book. So what we're going to do is we're going to create the pages. The binding will actually be kind of the last thing that we do. So it is a little bit more flexible binding. You can see that it does kind of curve in and out, but it's pretty and it's fun, and I wanted to try it, and I thought, well, if I haven't done it, then there's probably other people out there who haven't done it as well. So we're going to work on that today. Now for this, I just wanted to also let you know that I did use the gold mirror paper from Country Craft Creations and the black Artisan Cardstock on this book. So, and I did use a little bit of the wine, which was a discontinued color that I've had in my stash. So I did use a little bit of that in this book. So the pattern papers are not from Country Craft Creations, but I made this great Halloween album, and it was really cute. So I wanted to do it with that binding. So let's get started. And the first thing that we're going to do are the covers. So for the covers, you will need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 6 by 7 3/4. Now, one thing I do need to stress is that the 7 3/4, which is the height of the album, is the height of your straws. So whatever straw you get, measure it, because if it's a little bit shorter or a little bit longer, you will need to adjust the height of your book. So the pages and the chipboard will be 7 3/4 because 7 3/4 is the height of my straws. Okay, they're gonna go the same height. The cardstock to cover your covers, you need 2 that are 8 by 9 3/4, and we're just going to wrap them simply, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, I've already cut this chipboard 6, 7 3/4, and then my cardstock is 8 by 9 3/4, and I just laid it down in the middle of my paper. And to do that, let me see, I should have dug these out prior, but to do this, I'm using my spacers that I got from Kraft Creations, and I know you've seen the lay flat method. I'm just basically wrapping them, and I'm using the spacer so that there's 1 inch on all 4 sides. And so I did that. So I already kind of did that. Then I'll show you what I usually do when I do my covers when I'm wrapping like this is I go ahead and kind of start the fold, and then I turn it over and I grab my bone folder, and then I go to the outside and just kind of round, not round, but score around the chipboard. And that creates a nice crease and helps train the paper to go the direction that I want it to go, okay? So I do that, and then I'm going to grab my score tape, and I'm going to put score tape on the edges, like so, on all 4 sides. Like that. We'll get these done. I don't usually show this on video because I usually use, you know, the lay flat method, and I have a video that I link to it, but because this book is a little bit different, I thought, well, I'm going to show how to do the covers, because basically we're not going to create a spine like a lay flat cover. It's going to be a little bit different. So then once you do that, I'm going to get my cutting mat here and my straight edge knife, and then I have this little tool that I use to cut the corners. So this will make a perfect 45-degree corner, and it will leave about 1/8 of an inch of a space between my chipboard and the end of my cardstock, so that when I do this and use that as a guide, I do have a little bit of room there to wrap the corners. I really hate it when my chipboard shows, and especially if I'm not using black cardstock to cover, because with black you can take a black Sharpie, and if your chipboard shows a little bit, you can kind of color it and camouflage it. But with other colors, that's harder to do. So I really just prefer to make sure my corners are wrapped, and with that little 1/8 of an inch there, it will make sure that that happens. So now that I've got that, I'm going to wrap it top, bottom, and then sides in. That's my usual mantra. So I'm just going to peel off all of this score tape. And then what I'm going to do is I do top, bottom, side to side. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue here, and I'm just going to go around the edges here of my chipboard. There's a couple reasons that I do this. First off, it'll help glue around the edges of the chipboard. Secondly, it does kind of help wet the fibers a little bit, so that when you do fold it, it helps prevent any cracking that may occur. And then I just fold it over and then just press that down, okay? And that's that. And we go to the other side. So my little mantra when I'm doing this in my head is top, bottom, side to side. That's how I like to do it. So you can do side to side, top to bottom. However, I do this. So then when I get to the corners here, you can see that there's a little bit hanging over the edge of the chipboard. So I usually take my fingernail because it's easier for me, and then I just kind of push that in from the side and then down. And then what that does is that kind of wraps around my chipboard. You can use a bone folder and go in and do that. For me, it's just, I use my fingernails as tools. So there you have it. So then you just put the glue there again, and then I'm just going to fold that over, press it down. And then I usually just take my bone folder and use it sideways and slide it down to kind of press it down. But you can see how nice of an edge that gives your wrap to your cover. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So it works really well. So again, I'm just going to kind of tuck it in with my fingernails here and push it down, and then add my glue and wrap it. Okay, press it down. I'm going to use my bone folder. I'm going to make sure that's all nice and flat. And then the last thing I do, since I'm using heavyweight chipboard, is I'm going to just go around the edge and just kind of square it up a little bit and make sure that it's flat and pressed up against that chipboard. And then I have my cover done. So you just need the two covers. We're not going to create a separate spine because that's what these are for. And we're going to put this off to the side and grab our pages. So our pages are fun because they are going to incorporate the binding as well as create our pages. Now I've done a couple already, so they'll open, and then they are just basically glued together once you do this. So then we'll have a stack of pages. So you will need 5 pages at 11.5 by 7 3/4. So they are 11.5 by 7 3/4. And again, they are the height of our straws. So everything is going to match height wise. Okay. So I've already done a couple that I put together, and this one here is a separate piece. This is what we're going to create right now. So you'll need to make 5 of these pages. And basically when you open it up, you'll have scores in the middle, and then it will make the spots for your straws. Okay. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and we're going to get that out of the way and grab our scoreboard. So again, the pages, let me put that here so you can still see that, are going to be 11.5 by 7 3/4. So you're going to grab your bone folder and put your paper in your scoreboard with the 11.5 at the top, and we're going to score. Am I in? I am. Okay. I'm a little off today. My stuff is moved over to the side a little bit more than normal. So, okay. So 11.5, and we're going to score down the center at 5 3/4. Okay. So scoring at 5 3/4, that's going to give you the center mark. And then we're going to take and flip our paper over like this, and we're going to score at 5.5 and at 6. And that's going to give us 3 scores right in the middle of our paper, 2 going one way and 1 going the other way. That way we can kind of bend our pages the proper way. So you're going to do this to all 5 pages. So then what we're going to do is we're going to fold it in half. So we're going to go with the score in the middle. We're going to fold that in half, like so. And then I'm actually going to use my scoreboard again, because I'm going to grab a pencil. I'm going to put it in with the folded side at the top. Okay, so you can see the folded side is at the top. We're going to make a mark at 1. Get some lead out so it actually shows up at 1. And we're going to go at 2. So that's going to go down to the 1/4 inch score that we've added. And then we're going to go from the bottom here, we're going to go at 5 3/4 and 6 3/4. Okay, just a pencil mark so you can see that, I hope. So that will give you an inch space here, and an inch space here, an inch here, and an inch here. Okay, so far so good. So you have your score here that you can see, and you have your pencil mark. So again, you're going to put the fold up here, so it's 7 3/4 at the top. That's the fold end at the top. You should have a score there. You're going to make a tick mark at 1, 2, at 5 3/4, and at 6 3/4. Okay, then what you're going to do is grab your scissors, and I found this easier to do with my scissors and my eyeballs instead of trying to put it in a scoreboard, because I just couldn't get it to do it. But I'm going to cut straight up to the score mark only. Okay, so you're going to have like a 1/4 inch little slit. Okay, so you're going to do that to all 4 of those slits. Just cut straight up. Be careful. Go slow, and don't go through the score mark. Okay, just go to the score mark and cut your slits. Okay, and then once you do that, you can go back with your eraser and you can erase those pencil marks, okay? So once we have those cut, then what you're going to need to do is fold your paper into the opposite direction. So that's why we turned our paper over, flipped it, and did our scores the opposite direction, okay? So I'm gonna fold, I'm folding it like this. This is how we cut our slits, okay? And then I'm just gonna carefully fold this back, okay? Like so, okay, on both sides, okay? And if it's easier, just put it all flat. And then I'm just gonna carefully fold that, like so. Okay, so now what you should have is a piece that looks like that. So you have the two center scores, okay, that make a little baby W, I guess you could say. And then you also have your little slits cut, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna do it so that the 1/4 inch is on the inside, okay? We're gonna fold our papers, okay? So now you should have something that looks like that, okay? And then you're gonna go in and you're gonna carefully, you're gonna pop out the second scores. Okay, so I'm going in from the inside, I'm just taking my finger and I'm pushing those back out. So you will have a piece that looks like this, okay? And then we'll open this up here and you have your insides are pointed in, okay? And then the outside, you'll just have the 2 tabs, okay? And that's how your pages should look, just like that. All right. Now, I don't know if I said anything at the beginning of the video. I do need to say, I should say that because I really want to tell you. So the original tutorial that I watched was by Stars and Confetti. I am going to link that down below. But it wasn't, she did it differently and had hinges and all this stuff and then added papers to it. And I thought it was a little bit, I kind of tweaked the design a little bit. And I thought I kind of tried to make it a little bit easier. But anyways, I failed to mention that at the beginning of the video. I will link that below. Okay. So then once you have your pages together, you just have to glue them together and make a stack. So we have these 2 pages that we just need to glue back to back. And so our pages on the insides are going to be nice and double thick. I should show you with this one because I already glued these together. So they're going to be nice and double thick. If you want, I chose not to do this, but if you want, you can glue them just on 3 sides and then create a side pocket, or you could do 3 sides this way and create a top pocket. I decided not to do that for this tutorial because I put a lot of elements on the pages, but if you want to keep your pages mostly plain, then you could create more pockets. So that is totally up to you. But basically, we're just going to glue this together. So I'm just going to grab my glue here, and I'm just putting glue. Don't put glue on the hinges, okay? So we're just putting them on the base here, like so. Oh, I knew I was going to do that. I'm running out of glue. And then the easiest thing that I found to do is just kind of line this up like so, and then pinch them together, and there you have it. And then I'm going to open this up. I'm just going to kind of try and press this down, make sure my glue doesn't seep through and glue pages together. And voila, you have the next page put together, okay? And then last but not least, we'll do another one. Let me grab my other glue bottle. I knew that was going to happen. And there you go. Let's see how fast I can do this on camera. I'm using art glitter glue from Country Craft Creations. I absolutely love art glitter glue. It is amazing. There we go. All right. There we go. Ta-da! New bottle. All right, so let's do this other side here. So again, we're just going to add our glue. And I'm just gluing my pages together. So if you want to make pockets, go right ahead. And then I'm going to take my page. I'm going to stand it up, and then I'm just going to squish them together like so. And voila. Okay. So now, let's open this up, kind of press that down. There we go. So we have our book. So there are the inside pages. These are going to be what we attach the covers to, okay? So you'll have these, and then you'll have the 4 inside pages. So that's all there is to actually putting those together. I hope that made sense. It's really super easy to do. Then you're going to grab your covers, and we're going to do the same thing. We're going to just glue them on, but you do need to glue them so that the tabs are sticking out, okay? So there will be, when you look on the inside, there will be about a 1/2 inch space past your pages, okay? And that is another good thing, because if you decide to do side pockets, then you have a little bit of room for that. They won't stick out of the covers too much, you know, to have your pulls or your ribbon or whatever. So I'm going to take this off for a second, and I'm going to grab my glue again. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue on this page. Okay, and I'm very carefully just going to lay that down to the edge, making sure that my little hinge pieces are sticking out, okay? And then I can put it up to the side, I can square this up, and then carefully open this and press it down, okay? And then we'll cover this with pattern paper, so that's not going to be an issue. All of this is going to be covered up. Not a big deal, okay? And there you go. So the cover is on. So we'll just repeat for the back cover. And if I can get the part 2 done today, which will be the papering, I will do that today. If not, I'm hoping I will have it by tomorrow or Wednesday. But I really wanted to share this today. So I'm taking my other cover, okay, and I'm just laying that to the edge again, and then I'm just going to stand it up and just make sure everything's nice and square and even. Press it down. All my little tabs are sticking out, so that's good. And let's open and make sure everything is nice and pressed down. And that is the base of your book right there, okay? So this is what it should look like now. So you have your covers at the top, okay? And then you'll have your 4 inside pages. So now what we're going to do is we're going to build on the pages. I'm not going to do the spine yet because with the spine in there, like I said, it doesn't quite lay flat. But with this, we can actually kind of stretch it out a little bit if we need to fold it flat and make sure that we, you know, have everything we need, you know, to do so we have our pages. They go on easier. How about that? Good gravy. I can't talk today. It's morning and it's Halloween. I'm so excited. So on the inside cover, what I'm going to do on the inside covers here, my plan on the inside and the outside cover, or inside covers, I should say, for front and back. I told you I can't talk. So for the inside covers, front and back, I'm going to, my plan is to do a big, nice photo mat and have kind of like a focal photo on both the front and the back. And then we're going to do interactions on this page, okay, or on all of the pages. Now, for page 1, I do need to, which is the front page here, what we're going to do is one of my roundabouts that I've done before. And to do that, we do need to put pattern paper on first. So I'm going to grab my ruler, and just so that we're all on the same page here, haha, no pun intended, the pages are about 5.5 by 7 3/4. So I am going to have to pick one of my pattern papers here and cover it first. And I believe that is the only page that we are going to have to cover first. So let me pick my page here. What do I want to do here? I think I will do that. I like that. So I'm going to grab my cutter here. So our pages are 5.5 by 7 3/4. So I'm going to cut my pages at 5 3/8, or my pattern paper, I should say, 5 3/8 by 7 5/8. So that'll be 1/8 of an inch smaller than the paper or the page that I'm going to cover. And then I'm going to grab my ink, and I'm just going to ink the edges a little bit. Okay. And I believe this is the only one that we're going to need to do this with, but we're also going to need some seam binding. So I'm going to grab that as well. All right, so we have our seam binding here. We have our pattern paper, so that's going to fit beautifully right there. And then we have our pieces that we're going to add to it. So the first thing that we're going to do, let me clean up my mess just a wee bit because this is crazy sauce mess. First thing that we're going to do is lay down our seam binding. Okay, so we're going to put it right in the middle on the sides. I'm going to grab my ruler here, and I'm going to go on this other side just because I want to make sure that I'm not in the way of anything. And I'm going to line this up. So if you put the center here, it should be at 3 7/8 top to bottom for your center. So I'm going to do that again. So 7 3/8, and I'm just going to look and do that. And then we'll do that again over here. So line that up at 7 3/8. And we're going to lay down our seam binding. Okay. All right, in the middle here. I'm using seam binding from Kraft Creations. It's absolutely beautiful. And I picked kind of a neutral color to kind of, you know, offset the darker colors that I'm using for my cardstock. Put glue on my pattern paper. And I'm going to lay the pattern paper down, okay, just like so. You should have about a 1/16 of an inch all the way around, okay. And I'm just going to press that down. And this is why you don't want to put the straws in right now, okay. You really want to be able to put your pattern papers down first. Get your elements on first. And then we'll do the binding part absolutely last. Now, it's okay if these pop inside because you can always pop them back to the outside when you're done. So that's okay. So then for the roundabout, we add the seam binding and the pattern paper first, and then you're going to need 2 pieces that are 9 by 3 1/4 and 2 pieces that are 7 by 4 1/4. And these are going to be our waterfall pages. And it's going to add 8 actually pages. You're going to have a lot of photo opportunity on this page. So for the first one here, so this is the 7 by 4 1/4. We're going to put it with the 7 at the top. We're going to score at 3 1/4, excuse me, and 3 3/4 on both of those. And then on the 9 by 3 1/4, we're going to put the 9 at the top. You're going to score at 4 1/4 and at 4 3/4. Okay, so you're going to do both of those just like that. So these are kind of like my waterfalls. I don't know if you have seen them before. I've done the roundabouts before. It makes kind of a really fun page, and it gives you opportunities for not only vertical, but for, well, actually they're all for vertical, but they go in different directions. I don't know how to describe it. Anyway. Again, I am tongue-tied today, so, you know, you're going to have to bear with me a little bit. It's Halloween. I'm super excited. I got a bunch of stuff I got to get done today. It's been a super busy weekend. Had a lot of fun this weekend. Had fun with neighbors, and we had fun with some grandkids. We've already had some pre-trick-or-treating going on for kids that aren't going to be here today. So yeah, it's been a super busy weekend and I've loved every single second of it. Okay, so we're folding all the scores. So you'll have two that look like this, and you will have two that are vertical that look like this. So what we're going to do is take our page, and the two that open up, the 9-inch long pieces, we're going to glue those top and bottom, and the other two we're going to glue side to side. Okay, so this is the piece that was 9 by 3 1/4. Okay, and we're just going to take some glue. We're going to put some glue on that 1/2 inch spine here, and then we're going to grab our ruler, and we're just going to center this and glue this down on the page. So it is 5 1/2. So I'm eyeballing this, and I'm sorry if my hair is getting in the way. And I'm just going to glue that down, and it will be at, let's see, about 1 5/8 on either side of that 0, okay? And the beauty of this is you only have to like measure it once, because you can just line up the other ones when you put the other two down. And you don't have to measure but one time, so that's kind of nice. And it would have made more sense to do it from the bottom, I guess. That would have been a lot easier. But I'm going to take my second vertical piece. So this is the second 9-inch piece, okay? And I'm going to put glue on the bottom of this. So again, glue here. And then I'm going to line this up. And I'm going right to the edge of the page, okay? Right to the edge of the page. And this is why you have to put your pattern paper down first. Now, if you forget and don't put your pattern paper down, it is not the end of the world, because I have actually done it on purpose before, and it's really kind of cool, because then once you get your pieces down, if you go, oh, I forgot my pattern paper, then all you have to do is kind of measure this inside piece in between the scores. Okay, so if you imagine that these are all down, you do this square piece, and you can put down a piece here, and then you can decorate the corners. So, I mean, it can be fixed. That's for sure. It can be fixed. All right, so we're taking our other piece here, and I'm putting my glue on my spine. So this is the 7 by 4 1/4. I'm going to turn this so I can see it better. I'm going to center it. Okay. So that should be about 3 7/8, right? And then what I'm going to do is line this up, and it should line up at about 2 1/8 on either side, and it's going to go right to the edge again on my page, and I'm going to lay that down. All of these will lay down around each other, okay? Like so. And then I'll close this so I can line it up, because I only have to measure once, right? I just want to make sure that it's lined up. And on this one here, the only little difference is just make sure you don't get it into the score of your page. You want to make sure that you're not into that score. So I'm just going to make sure that when I line this up, I'm just going to be a little bit away from that score, because I want to make sure everything closes right. Just a teeny tiny hair. Okay. Wipe up my excess glue here, and then do that. And then you can cover these, whoops, excuse me, with pattern paper. And then the way that they're going to close, and you can close them any way you want, but I usually do like this, and then like that, and then so that, and then down like that. And then this will cover the top and keep everything nice and closed. If you want to close it with the sides on the top, that's fine too, however you want to do it, but that's what the roundabout is. And then you have all these flips and flaps, and it holds a lot of pictures. And again, remember, you can always pop that out. So that's the first page, front of page 1. So then we're going to turn our book. We'll do the back of page 1. This one is a fun little piece. So we're going to do a flip with a pocket. So you're going to need a few pieces. And I've got these all ready to go. So I actually folded that one too. So for the flap, which is this one, you're going to need a piece that's 5 1/4 by 5 1/2. You're going to make triangle pockets. So we're going to create it out of one piece that's 3 3/4 by 3 3/4. And then we're going to need a photo mat or a journaling card, however you want to do it, that's 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So you can turn this into a photo mat, or you could put like a journaling card on it and decorate it however you want to do that. So these are the pieces that you're going to need. So for the scoring on this one, we're going to put this right here. We're going to put the 5 1/2 at the top, and we're going to score at 5. Okay. Fold and burnish and miter. We're going to take, and I apologize because I've already done this. And then I thought, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. So you're going to take your 3 3/4 by 3 3/4 square. And what you're going to do is you're going to go all the way around. You're going to score at 1/2 inch on all 4 sides. So you'll score at half, pretend it's not cut into a triangle, score at half, turn it, score at half. So all the way around. And then you're going to cut that square into 2 pieces, 2 triangles, okay? So you should have a 1/2 inch square here and a 1/2 inch square here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna miter the corners, okay? So I'm just gonna go to the top of the triangle. I'm gonna cut those off, and then I'm going to cut the corner off. So you have tabs for your pockets, and I'm making a huge mess, and I apologize. Good gravy. So then we're going to miter this again. So I'm just going to the top of that inside triangle. Okay, so we're using those 1/2 inch pieces as tabs. Okay, and then I'm just going to cut that corner off. And there you go. Then we will get that out of the way. Fold and burnish our pieces like so. Okay, and this one here we mitered and we folded and burnished, and then we're not going to do any scoring to this. So then we're going to take our book. So this is the back of page 1, and I'm going to turn it sideways so I can see. And what I'm going to do is put the flap at the top of the page. There will be about 1/8 inch on either side. So I'm just going to glue this right here. And I'm going to lay that down right to the top edge of the page. Wipe off my excess glue. And then I have my flap here, okay? So then the little pockets go at the bottom of the page, okay? Now make sure that your flap does not interfere with your pockets. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I designed it so that there's a little bit of space in between the flap. That's the one reason why it is a little bit more narrow, because I don't want it to get caught up in this pocket. That's not the intent. I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on my tabs here. And I'm gonna glue this just to the bottom of the page. Like so. So bottom of the page to the edge, all the way to the edge, like so. I'm going to do it with the second piece. And then the journal card is going to be what holds that flap down. All right. So the pocket corners will meet together at the bottom. Make sure that's down. Press that down. Okay, so if you can see that, the corners of the pockets will meet right there, and then you have your flaps. So this will go in the pocket, and then that's what's going to keep the flap shut. The fun part about this is that if you put, you know, a journaling card in here to keep the flap shut, when you take it out and lift it up, you could have another one, you know, kind of hidden on the inside as well. So that's fun to do. And you can put pattern paper down, and you put it all the way down so it will cover all the tabs on the inside. And that will be really pretty to do. So to cover these corners here with your pattern paper, you're going to cut the triangles here. The sides are 2 5/8. So cut your square of pattern paper at 2 3/8, right? Did I say that right? Let me make sure. So it's 2 5/8. So cut it at 2 3/8 by 2 3/8. Use a non-directional paper and then cut that 2 3/8 by 2 3/8 square in a triangle, and that will mat this perfectly, okay? And we'll talk about that during the decorating too, but there's that page here. So then the next page here, which is page 2 front, we're going to do some flaps, and we are going to need some seam binding. So I have my seam binding here, and we're going to add that first before we do anything. So this is going to go right in the middle again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it to the side so I can see it. We're going to line this up, and we're going to add a little score tape so we can add our seam binding. Okay, so again, I'm going to line this up, and it will be at 3 7/8. Oops, maybe I'll do it off to the side. You guys, I feel like I'm tongue-tied, and my hands aren't working. I think I'm too excited for Halloween. What do you think? I love Halloween. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. Okay, so 3 7/8. And we're going to put that down. Okay. Went a little too far on that one, but that's okay. All right, there we go. So our seam binding will go on. And I don't know if I mentioned, if I did, I'm sorry, I'll mention it again. I'm using about 14 inches-ish. 12 to 14 inches usually works pretty good for this. Okay, so for the flaps, we got our seam binding down. That's good. That's going to help with the closure of this. We're going to get our board. We're going to need a few things. So you're going to need a piece that's 5.5 by 7, a piece that's 5 by 6.5, and a piece that's 4.5 by 6. So we did add the seam binding first, okay? So for all of the pages, we're just going to put them in with the shorter side at the top. So this one is the 4.5 by 6, and we're going to score it half. Then we're going to take the 5 by 6.5, score it half. And we're going to take the 5.5 by 7 and score it half. This is going to give us kind of some graduated pages, okay? So take this out of the way, and we're going to miter, fold, and burnish. Like so. Okay, so there's the mitering. Sorry, I'm probably doing this off camera too. Crazy. We have some Halloween decorations outside our house. Not too many, because unfortunately we have some real jerk people out there that are going around trashing everything, so we don't have too many. But one of them, you actually have to step on a pad to make it work. And this morning it was working all by itself. So yeah, kind of fun, kind of fun. Okay, so we're going to grab our book. We got everything folded and burnished. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the smallest piece aside. We're going to grab the next two sizes, okay? And we're going to take this one here. We have the tab for the biggest one folded here. So if you put it upside down, I guess, or on the inside, we want that tab on the biggest piece to be over here. We're going to take this tab and we're going to put it here on this other side so that it will open up like that. Okay, so I'm going to grab my glue here and I'll turn it so I can see. And there will be about 1/4 of an inch. And actually, I just use my grid here, line it up about 1/4 of an inch in from the top and the bottom right to the edge, okay? These are graduated kind of pages, which add a little bit of interest because you'll be able to see kind of underneath them, which is fun, okay? So you have this piece that goes like that. It'll fold to the inside. Now this tab here that we did will go to the edge of the page. Okay, so it's going to go right here. And this one here will be about 1/2 inch from the top and the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to put my glue on this one here. And I'm going to eyeball this because it's not going to go quite to the edge of my board here, but I'm just going to eyeball that. Do it right to the edge of the page, okay? And we'll make sure that we don't get glue everywhere. Press it down. Okay, so when this opens, it will open like that, and then it will open like that, okay? So we have that. And you guessed it, this guy is going to go over here, and it's going to glue on this left side of the page. So I'm going to open that up, turn it to the side, and I'm going to put glue on the tab. Pages are really easy to put together, I think. Okay, so here, that is about centered right there. So I'm just centering it, and actually I'm kind of using part of my scoring for my binding as a point to look at. And just make sure you don't go into the score because you want your pages to turn properly, right? We're gonna press that down. The seam binding will get covered with pattern paper, so you won't have to worry about that. Then this will fold like this, and that'll fold like that. And then you will have your seam binding closure like so. Okay, and that'll keep that whole piece done. Okay, and again, if those pop in, you can pop them back out. All right, so the back of page 2, what we're going to do is a simple stacked pocket. So for this, let's get this one out of the way. For this, you will need a piece that's 6.5 minus a 16th because I want to make sure that it is inside the score line so it closes properly. And then one at 6.5 minus a 16th by 3. Okay, so when you cut them, you put them in and you cut them, just nudge it over a 1/16 of an inch less than 6.5 wide. And then you're going to take your scoreboards and we're going to score on the 3 sides. So for your 6.5 minus a 16th, because you see it doesn't quite go to the score, I just got a little bit off. You're going to score at half, turn it, score at half, turn it, and score at half. You're going to do that to both pieces on the 6.5 side. So score at half, turn, score at half, turn, score at half. Make our pockets. I'm going to miter corners, and I'm going to go pretty sharp because on the corners, because I want to make sure that we take, you know, the bulk out of the corners, since it's going to be kind of stacked, and we're going to put a lot of papers and stuff on there. And then when I put this pocket together, I will use tape, just Scotch tape, clear tape, because if you don't want to put pattern paper all the way into the pocket to cover all the tabs, then you don't have to worry about that. So I'm going to grab my tape here, and what we're going to do is fold and burnish. So these are just going to stack right on top of each other. So do that for the big pocket, do that for the little pocket. Here, the little pocket's going to go right on top of the big pocket, like so, okay? So first thing I'm going to do is put glue on just the bottom tab. And make sure I've got the bottom of my big pocket. And just glue the bottoms together, okay? Just like this. So all of the tabs go to the inside, right? Glue that down. Make sure it's even, okay? Then open it. And then this is where I'm going to use my tape, and what that will do is help smooth out that edge so that if you don't put pattern paper all the way into the pocket, it will help the tags and stuff slide in and out and they won't get caught up. So it's just a nice little trick to do. Sometimes I just call it the tape trick. And then after you do that bottom, then you can glue up the sides. Okay, so I'm just going to put glue on these little tabs here and glue up my sides. Now, I usually like to, because I'm just that way, I like to put pattern paper all the way down. But if you don't want to do that, if you want to conserve paper and just do a strip here and a strip here and then a strip on the page above it, you totally can do that now, okay? So we're going to glue this right to the bottom of the page. We're going to do the same thing, just glue the bottom tab only. And then we're going to just put it right to the bottom edge and the side edge of that page. And because we took that 1/16 of an inch off, it should be right inside that score line on the binding side. And then we won't have to worry about our pages not closing properly. And that 1/16 of an inch is not going to be noticeable at all. Nobody's going to see that. So once we do that, let's grab our tape. Oh my goodness, I'm almost out of tape. I'm going to have to go get some more. Okay. Like so. Okay. And then we'll glue up our sides. Like this. And then fold your page up. All right. And then your stacked pockets on the back of page 2 are done. Okay. So you should have a pocket here and a pocket here. So that is the back of page 2 with our pockets. On the front of page 3, we're going to have some fun little flaps. So again, we're going to need some seam binding to close them. And you're going to need a couple pieces. So you'll need 2 that are 4 3/4 by 6 1/4 and 2 that are 3 1/4 by 4 3/4. Okay. So again, we're going to need our seam binding. So we're going to put that on, doing the same thing. I'm just centering it right in the middle. I tried to keep this album pretty simple because the spine is the you know, kind of the focal point, I think, of this as far as this tutorial. I just really wanted to show, how to do the spine. I wanted a really cool book too, but I wanted to keep, you know, everything pretty simple too. So you could whip this together. I'm using fall paper. This Fall Breeze is absolutely stunning. This book would look really cute for a Christmas book because there's lots of interaction. So I have my seam binding. And then what we're going to do is take our pieces, okay, and for the bigger pieces, the 4 3/4 by 6 1/4, we're going to put them in our scoreboard with the 4 3/4 at the top, and we're going to score at half on both of them, okay, so score at half, and then on the little pieces, we're going to put them in our scoreboard, 4 3/4 at the top, score at half, 4 3/4 at the top, score at half. Okay? Like so. Okay? So once those are done, again, we're going to do the whole miter, fold, and burnish routine. Okay? So I'm just going to cut my corners a little bit. These will be fun little flips, that's for sure. And I wanted a lot of space to put the paper because the paper is just so pretty. It is so pretty. I went to the October retreat and Bonnie did an album that was amazing and used this paper and is just gorgeous. And I just love it. I just love the papers. All right, so here we go. All right, so what we're going to do is take our flaps. These will go on either side of our page. Okay, so we're going to open them up. We're going to add these flaps to the tops of the pages. And what they're going to do is they're going to be on the inside. So we're going to glue them to the top of the page and then we'll glue this down to the side. Okay, hope that makes sense. So I'm going to just take them. I'm going to make sure that I've got my tabs going in kind of opposite directions because one's going to be on one side and one's going to be on the other as far as the bigger pages. The smaller pages are going to glue right to the tops of them. So I'm just going to take my glue, okay, and I'm going to center them. So get your centering ruler here, the top of the page. I never get my ruler in the right spot, that's for sure. So they are going to be at like 2 1/8 will be the center here. So then here the center will be 1 3/8, okay? Like so. Right to the center of that. And then make sure you wipe up your excess glue, because you don't want to have your flaps glued down, but then you're going to have this, okay? There we go. So that's that side. We'll get the opposite. So that'll glue here, okay, right at the top. So again, I'm going to center. You know, I've only had 1 cup of tea too, but I feel like I've had like 10. Must be working double time today. Like that. And then I'm going to center this down. Did I say 1 3/8? I think it's 1 5/8. It's 1 5/8. I can't read today. Okay, so the center for the smaller tab is 1 5/8. Okay. There. Like that. Okay. So you should have 2 pieces that look like this, and then they'll flap up like that. So when we glue them to our book, there's going to be a tab on either side. So, okay. So it should look like this. When we put them in our book, they're going to overlap like this, and then they'll open up, and then the flaps will flip. So I'm going to grab our book, and then we're just going to glue these tabs down. Okay. And then I'm just going to center this. So, like so. And this will go down, and it should be at 3 1/8. And just remember, on the right side, don't get into the score. Just go right next to the score, okay? And this book will get a little bit big and bulky, and with the binding right now, the way it's laying and stuff, you just got to be careful. But it's a lot easier to do it this way than it is to do it with the straws in it. Trust me on this one. Now, once you get that one layered down, then this one will go right over top of it, so you don't have to measure again. So I'm just going to hold that flap down and put glue on my 1/2 inch here. Okay. And then I'm just going to put this to the edge of the page, and I'm going to line it up to the flap I already put on. So even if I'm a little bit off on my measurement, no one will know, because the other side will match up perfectly. Little trick. And then I'm going to lay that down, open it up. Okay, so then these 2 flaps, one will go here, one will go here, and then when you open them up, then you'll have that. Okay, so again, way more room to put things, and it's kind of a little surprise when you open up the flaps, because you think, oh, it's just a gatefold. Well, it's not really just a gatefold or just a flap. It's more than that. Okay, back of page 3. You guys, we're almost there. We're almost there. So back of page 3 is a super simple belly band. That's all we're going to do for this one. I wanted to add a lot of different things to it, so you will need one piece that's 2 by 8 3/4, okay, for our belly band. And we're just going to take it with the 8 3/4, and we're going to score at 1/2 inch on either end. That's all you're going to do for that. Okay, and then fold and burnish. So on the 8 3/4 end, you'll just score at 1/2 on each end, and then fold. And you can miter if you want. You don't necessarily have to, because pattern paper, I'm going to slip that right through the middle. So you don't have to even miter this if you don't want to. And then just put glue. And sometimes it's easier for me if I just put glue on one end and then glue it down. So I'm just going to, now our book's getting a little bulky, so I'm just going to kind of squish it down a little bit and try and center it. So center is about, let's see here, 2 3/4, okay. And my belly band is 2 inches wide, so it should center about 1 inch. right there at the top, okay? Right at the top of my page. Like so. And then that's when I go ahead and glue this. Okay, I'm just going to lay that down, and that should go down to the bottom of the page, like so. Okay. Like that. Okay, so now you have a nice belly band on the back of page 3. Then on the front of page 4, we're going to do another little cool flippy flap. And this one here will need a few things. So we're going to need, let me get this out of the way first. We're going to need, for a pocket, we're going to take a piece that's 6.5 minus a 1/16 by 3. The photo mat, again, is 4 1/4 by 6 1/4. So this is going to be kind of similar. And then we're going to have flaps. We're going to need 3 that are 3 3/4 by 4 1/4. Okay. So let's start with the pocket. We will need one that's 6.5 minus a 1/16 by 3. And again, we're going to put it in our scoreboard with the 6.5 minus the 1/16. Score it half, turn it, score it half, turn it, score it half, okay? Then you're going to take the 3 flaps, so all 3 of these that are 3 3/4 by 4 1/4, put it with 3 3/4 at the top, and all of these just get scored the same at 1/2. So all 3 of those. And then the photo mat, we're not gonna do any scoring on. So then we'll take this out of the way. We're not going to do any folding or scoring with the photo mat. And on all of the pages, we're going to just miter, okay? And then our pocket here. I think I have enough tape on that roll for this pocket, because I think this is the last one I need it for. So we'll see about that. Okay, get those little chunklets out of the way, and then we'll fold our pocket. Okay, and again, I cut the pocket, the bottom corners, pretty sharply across so that we eliminate bulk at the bottom of the pocket. Okay, so that the tabs actually will almost always like be nice and flush. Does that make sense? Hope that makes sense. Then fold our little pages. So we'll need 3 of those. Okay, like that. All right, so now that our pieces are prepared, let's get our book. First thing we'll do is put our pocket down at the bottom, and that's why we took a 1/16 off of it, so that it won't go in the scores again, right? So again, we're going to just glue the bottom first. And we're going to go right to the bottom edge of our page and to the side edge of the page. And it will be just a little bit, teeny tiny bit away from the score. And that's going to help everything turn properly. So let's burnish that down. Okay, let's see if I have enough tape. Oof, I think I do. I think I just wiped out the last of my tape. So we will put more tape here, in case you don't want to use pattern paper all the way down in your pocket. Okay, cut this piece off. Okay, like so. Okay, and then we'll glue our pocket up. And except for, you know, that first assembly, all of these can be done without doing the pattern paper right away, which is good. But that first one, you kind of need to do that. But again, if you don't, if you forget and you put it down, it can be fixed. You can just put pattern paper on the inside part and then just do the corners. Okay, so then our little pages. So we're going to do one at the top on both sides. Okay, so easy peasy. this. So I'm going to turn it just so I can see it a little bit better. I'm just going to line it up at the top edge and almost to the score. Okay, so remember not to get your score in there. Okay, just a little bit like that. Burnish that down. Okay, other one to the side, so that will go right to the edge, just like that. So we're going to glue on our tab. Okay, and then right to the edge of the page. These are going to be nice sturdy pages too, because we did glue them shut, you know, together. So the pages are doubled. They're going to be nice and sturdy. Okay, then the last little page that we did, that third page, we're going to put glue on that tab. And this guy is going to go on the inside right in the middle. So I'm going to turn it kind of upside down so I can see better. And I'm going to line this up to my page here. So 2 3/4 on either side of the 0 line here. Okay. And then I'm going to lay that down, and that should be at 2 1/8 on either side of the 0, right to the edge of that page, like so. Okay, like that. So front of page 4 is done. So this flap will go to the inside, and then that folds over like so. And then you have your journal card that will go in here and keep everything closed. Okay, and then when you open this up, you're like, surprise, you have 3 little flaps. So I think that's a pretty fun page. And there's that. So then the last page, back of page 4, is going to be a nice little gatefold. Okay, the gatefold here, I don't know what I was looking at. Never mind. Gatefold here, we're going to have more seam binding. Okay, so this project does take some seam binding, but I love it because I love the bows. You're going to need 2 pieces that are 3 1/4 by 7 3/4. And you're just going to take those 2 pieces and you're going to score at 1/2 inch on one side only. Okay, so let me put this back here for a second. I took that one away. So you'll need 2 pieces that are 3 3/4 by 7 3/4, and you're just going to fold at or score at 1/2 inch. And let's go ahead and just do that while we're thinking about it. And then we'll miter. So we did the scoring. Let's pretend we did the scoring because I didn't do it on air, but it's only at 1/2 inch on the side there. Okay, and going to do that. We're going to lay down our seam binding. Okay, so our seam binding next, just like we've been doing it. Okay, so I'm going to line this up. So 3 7/8 is the center. Okay, like so. Okay, then we will lay down our seam binding. Okay, like so. This book is going to be so pretty. I cannot wait to get the pattern papers on. It's going to be just gorgeous. All right, so on either side here. Okay, got that. So then we've got this mitered. Let's fold and burnish. Now we're going to do this the spine side first, and I'm going to show you why in just a second. So we're going to fold and burnish that one. We're going to put our glue on our glue on our tab. We're going to lay this down in our book, like right next to the score, not into the score, okay? First. So we want to make sure that that's in there straight. Everything's good. Not in our scores, okay? Okay, so we're going to do that one first. And then what I'm going to do is I've got to fold and burnish this one. I'm going to lay this on. I'm going to kind of dry fit it. it's going to go to the edge of the page, right? And I want to make sure that the pages match. So if I cut it a little bit wonky and one is a little bit longer, I can trim a sliver off of this edge first before I glue it down. But I think this one actually looks like it's pretty good, and I don't really need to do that. It looks like they meet up just really perfectly. So I don't think I need to trim anything off, but that's why you should do that first. It's going to be a lot harder to trim that if you glue it down before you check it, okay? But I think that's going to work out just fine. So dry fit it first, and then glue on the tab, and then just glue it to the edge of the page, and that's all there is to that. Pretty simple. This book is going to have so many places to put photos and pretties. So I'm just gluing that right to the edge of the page. Top and bottom. Okay. I'll wipe up my excess glue here. Open it up. Make sure I don't glue anything shut. Art glitter glue does dry clear too, so that's awesome. And again, pattern paper will cover all the seam binding pieces, so don't worry about that. All right, so then that will close over top like that. So that's just a simple gatefold. That'll be a nice little surprise when you open that up as well and have the beautiful papers on the inside as well. Okay, and then like I talked about, I'm going to go ahead and just do photo mats on the inside covers so that there are focal point pictures, okay? And then, so our book is done, so you just need to go back. Now we have kind of stretched it out and done our thing, so you just need to pop your little pieces back in, okay? Pop the other little pieces back out, so you'll have to fiddle with it just a little bit, but that's okay. All right. So those pop in. Easier said than done, right, guys? So there you have it. And then what we're going to do, so then at this point, you need to decorate your pages, okay? So don't put your straws in yet, okay? We got to decorate your pages. So I'm going to go off camera right now and do that. And then I will come back with part 2, and then we'll finish this up. Now, I'll give you another hint here. If you're having trouble popping your pieces out, you can always do it from the outside too, okay? Grab a sharp implement of some sort, and you can help pop these things back in and out. And then don't worry, it's fine. There we go, see? It takes a little fiddling, but you can get it all back to where it needs to be, okay? So your spine looks like this. You have all your little tabby pieces popped out, okay? You have all the other pieces popped in, so you have this kind of accordion kind of thing going on. It does expand. And then, so I'll come back. I'll show you about decorations and everything else, and then we'll do the binding piece once that's all done, because that is the very last piece we'll do. So that'll be in part 2. So for part 1 right now, we've got the basic construction done. And when you open your book, we're going to have this beautiful piece here that opens up, and you'll have all these roundabout flips and flaps, which is amazing. There's a ton of places for pictures, okay? And then that is the only page, again, that you need to put pattern paper down first. And then we have this beautiful pocket page with a tag, and then a flip that goes up like that, and then the tag keeps everything nice and closed, and then, of course, you can add more if you want. Then you have this beautiful page that flips like this, but then it also flips out like that. So you have this really nice fold there. On the back of that page, we have our double stacked pockets. So we have that. And then on this page here, we have our tie, and it opens up, and then it opens up again. Okay, so lots of places, lots of nice little surprises. Then we have our belly band page here. Then we have another place where you have a journaling card or a photo mat. And then that opens up like that, and then that opens up like that. So pretty fun. And that keeps that closed there. And then we have our last page, which is a nice, simple gatefold page. Okay, so lots of places to put things. So this is the end of part 1. Part 2 will be coming really soon. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think, and I will be back soon, and we'll finish up this tutorial. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a great day. Happy Halloween. Bye-bye.